Now I'm going to talk about gearboxes. So, first of all, if you can't get your car into gear because it's grinding, it's not the problem of the gearbox. It's a problem with the clutch. If you put the car into gear and let the clutch out and it doesn't go anywhere, it's hardly ever the gearbox, probably the clutch. Maybe it's a broken half shaft. So the gearbox lies between the clutch and the drive shaft, and it gives you the advantage of either 4 or 5 gears plus reverse, so that you can use the RPM of the engine where it's the strongest to accelerate the car. The hardest place to accelerate it is right off stop. So that's first gear. It's a real low gear. And a T-type gear, T-types, they refer to them as a stump puller, which is almost true. It's almost like a tractor gear. It's really, really low. And in fourth gear, it's always 1 to 1. One turn in, you get one turn out. The gearbox is a torque multiplier. Imagine a lever, right? A lever. And this distance up here is 1 foot, and this distance over here is 4 feet. If you move if you move this 4 feet, this moves one. If you move this with 25 pounds, you move the up here with 100 pounds. It's a torque multiplier, but it does it in a rotary manner. So gears are just rotary levers, and it's just changing the torque so that you can use the engine to its best advantage. The engine does not put out a whole lot of power at 1,000 RPM, but it does it 3 or 4,000 RPM. So that's where you want to be using the engine most of the time. So the gearbox allows you to use the engine in that range to accelerate the vehicle up to cruising speed. In first gear, if you put, and this is all the gearboxes, this is T-type and A and B and midget 1500, all of them. You put one turn in to the front of the gearbox, you get 1/4 of a turn out. So it's a 4 to 1 ratio. In second gear, you put in a full turn, you get 2/4 out. In third gear, you put one turn in, you get 3/4 out. In fourth gear, you would get one turn in, you get 4/4 out. And if you have overdrive, you put one turn in and you get 5/4 out. So it's a 25% increase at each point. Not exactly, not through all the cars. All the cars are different. The MGCs, they used MGB gears, and it turned out that that wasn't quite right, and so they had to change the relationship between second and third gear, so that the engine would work better. But just generally speaking, it's a quarter, a half, 3/4, and a full turnout, depending on whether you're in one, two, three, or fourth gear. So the gearbox needs oil. If it runs out of oil, it isn't going to work for long. If it fills up with water, like the picture that I sent out, it isn't going to work for long. It doesn't make a lot of difference what kind of oil's in the gearbox. There are proper oils, but when I was in the trade full time and we drained out gearboxes, we drained out 90 weight. Some of them take 90 weight. The T types, the midget 1500s take 90, 80, 90 gear oil. But sometimes you'd find that in a late model MGB. There was a factory service memorandum that went out to all the dealers that said, "Oh my gosh, for the past 38 years, it's been wrong, and you shouldn't be putting engine oil in the gearbox like the workshop manual says. You should be using 80/90." And then, like 6 months later, they had another confidential service memorandum that was passed out that said, "We don't know who wrote that, but that's wrong. Use engine oil." So every now and then somebody say, "Oh no, I know I saw the factory memo on an MGB gearbox and you're supposed to use 90 weight." Better that you have any oil in there than no oil. first of all. But secondly, you want to use the right kind of oil. So the right kind of oil in a T-type and a midget 1500 is 8090. On a real noisy 1275 midget Spridget gearbox, 8090 works pretty nicely. But on the MGA and MGBs and MGCs and properly for the midget 1275s, you're supposed to be running engine oil. That's what the workshop manual says. Now, John Esposito at Quantum Mechanics says, oh my God, you got to use 30 weight non-detergent, especially with overdrives, because normal oil can cavitate so you get bubbles in it. And once you get bubbles, then the overdrive doesn't work. I haven't experienced that myself, haven't heard of anybody, but that's his advantage. That's his suggestion. Non-detergent, so you don't pick up any crap and keep mixing it through the overdrive filters. Engine oil is the best. Now, normal engine oil, when you're using normal engine oil, you're using high zinc, Valvoline VR1, for instance, or Castrol's got Castrol Classic now. A bunch of manufacturers have put zinc back in the oil, but you don't have to buy that expensive oil. You can buy just Napa Good oil and put that in the gearbox. That'll be wonderfully satisfactory. We've taken 90 weight out of overdrives. Works just fine. 90 weight works just fine in a TR6 overdrive, and that's got a J-type overdrive, which isn't that much different than the LH overdrive used on the MGBs. So you got to have enough oil. You should have the right kind of oil. So almost all the gearboxes have got a dipstick, which is a fright to fill. Oh my gosh! Remember that our cars, that the MGs were made to be worked on at home by the owner without a hoist, without even lifting it up onto jack stands. Everything is made to be filled from the top. So a T-type goes in from the top. MGAs, MGBs through 1974 until you pick up the side fill gearbox in 1974. So, Bob and Gloria, what's up?
Well, I just wanted to say, yeah, I took that advice to put in 30 weight non-detergent oil. I found no difference going through the desert. Either one, it's kind of slides into overdrive when it gets really warm. So I really didn't notice any
Okay,
difference at all. But I did it because seemed to be the right thing to do.
that's what I've been instructed to. Thanks. So, by 1974 and a half, with a rubber bumper MGB, we have a side fill gearbox. Oh my gosh, it's heaven! It's heaven. You jack the car up on the side, overfill, fill it up till it runs out, put it back down on level. It fills right to the bottom of the fill plug. It's perfect. It's great. You don't have to drool oil all over the inside of the car. If you do have a center fill, top fill, then you got to get some sort of funnel with a snake on it, or you can use a funnel and a piece of hose, and shove the hose down into the top and put it and drool the oil into the funnel. Better that you're using nice warm oil so it runs through the hose, because if it's cool oil, you'll be standing there with a funnel unable to do anything because you can't walk away because it's going to fall over and drool oil all over either the interior, or if you've come in from the front of the car, all over the heater control valve and the distributor. So they're just awful to fill, but they've got a dipstick. The MGBs have got a dual O-ring just to make sure that nothing gets in, but it also makes sure that the dipstick doesn't come out. So you can scar up your hands pretty badly fishing down in there with your finger trying to get that thing out. I've got a nice little hook. You can make a hook out of a coat hanger to go down there. Some people have once you get it out, you can put a rope around it so that you just reach in there and pull it, it comes out. But you don't need two O-rings on the MGB 68 through 80 gearbox or 68 through 74 gearbox. You don't need two O-rings. You can get rid of one. The earlier ones, the three synchros, have got a felt seal on the side, and that's pretty handy. But um, the later ones have got that dual O-ring, and it's just a bugger. So Bob's got something to say again.
Well, we use one of those plastic straps, a thick one, and wrap it around, and it comes out easy. You don't have to.
A
Gloria
zip
doesn't
tie.
have to scrape. Yeah, zip tie. That's it. Gloria doesn't have to scrape her hands anymore.
Gloria doesn't have to. Yeah, and then of course, then you always find out that the DPO has installed some great big monster stereo in there, right? And there's a tangle of wires and a bunch of screws about that long, all with drill point ends. And so you're pulling up your finger comes, and you get jammed up. So again, if a person presents himself and he's neither bleeding um, uh, scabbed, scarred, or has clean hands and fingernails, he's not a mechanic. He's a poser. But you want to cut that stuff down as much as you possibly can. So we talked about the oils. We've talked about getting the oils in. 1275 midget's pretty handy. There's a bung on the tunnel. Just pull that out and use an 11/16 socket. It's really 7/16 British, but 11/16 works just fine. And you can take that filler out and just fill it up till it overflows. The T-types have got a dipstick. MGCs have got a dipstick. Midget 1500s are side fill. So that's pretty straightforward. One of the first things that happens with a gearbox is it leaks, and there isn't much you can do other than take it out to repair it. Now you can go underneath the car with your open end spanner or wrench, and you can tighten up all the 7/16ths and all the half-inch head bolts that you can find. Maybe it'll slow it down a little bit. If the rear seal is leaking on an MGB, what a bugger that is to get out. It's quite frankly, it's almost easier to take the gearbox out of the car to do it. So the earlier ones have got a slide-in drive shaft like an American automatic. And those go bad. But any of those are it's just a bugger to change the seal in place. You can do it. You can do it, but oh my gosh, what a terrible hassle. And if the front seal is leaking, there's nothing you can do there other than take the engine and then at least the engine out, so you can get access. Now the Midget 1500, the Midget 1275 and the earlier ones, 948s, 1098s, do not have a front seal on the gearbox. You can buy a front seal on the gearbox from, it's a place that was in Cleveland, makes race parts for midgets and spridgets. He moved down, he sold it, and the new owner's out of Columbus, I think, or Cincinnati. Oh, what's the name of that place? It's a race shop. Anyway, Moss also has them. That's a front seal for a Spridget 1500 gearbox that's got an actual front seal to it. That's pretty nice to have. Um, so let's go through the other kinds of problems that you might have with your gearbox. What about a first gear noise in a three synchro gearbox, where it gets louder and louder and louder the more you use it? You either got to suffer it or you got to take the whole gearbox apart and change the lay gear and first gear. Oh my gosh. It's a problem endemic with the gearboxes, the T-type gearboxes. Not only do they wear, but they walk. So you can put it in first gear, take your hand off the gear lever, start to accelerate, and that gear lever will move back and pow, pop out of gear, pop into neutral, a walking first gear. And the only solution is to rebuild the gearbox and put in uh, 2,000 bucks worth of parts. And there are also some improvements that you can make when you're rebuilding a T-type gearbox by putting an extra spring on the 1-2 sliding, the 1-2 shaft. So anyway, that first gear noise is, I think I had a picture of it, but here's a lay gear, and here's a gear here, and this guy is in great shape. So why did I bring him? This gear is not. This is a midget gear, so that this is got some pretty chowed up teeth. But I haven't. I meant to bring a gear which had I think I had a picture of one. Just terrible looking teeth on it. They don't look so terrible. First time you look at it, you go, "Oh, I can see it's worn," but some of the case hardening's gone. Oh my gosh, it makes such a racket. And then eventually, you can lose a tooth altogether. And then that just doesn't work at all. The next most common problem is the synchronizers. And the synchronizer that usually fails first is second gear because you're in it and out of it all the time. Maybe it's not so evident changing up when you're going 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, 3 to 4. That's the bad synchro doesn't show up quite so much there. But coming down, when you're changing down from third to second, I mean, it should be a nice crisp, pull it into gear and let the clutch back out. But if you try to pull it into gear and you get that with the teeth rubbing against each other, it's a bad synchro. And the only way to take care of a bad synchro is to take the gearbox apart and replace it. Now, I'll talk about that later because most of the new synchros don't work very well out of the box. You have to lap them into place first. Another problem is reverse gear engagement. You know, you slap the gear lever towards you, you go to pull it back, it should slide right into reverse, slide right in because the teeth are all sharp. See how sharp those teeth are at the front? They've got a nice line on them. It should when those gears come together, no matter how they're positioned, they should deflect and slide into each other. But over a period of time, the teeth become blunted, like these teeth. These teeth here are blunted really bad. I don't have good light here. I don't, anyway, these teeth are very, very blunted. And so there's not a sharp knife edge on them. So if they happen to align like this and you try to put them together, they, they aren't going to move. If there's a knife edge there, they deflect one way or the other, but they just blunt. And so, so you let the clutch out, push the clutch back in. Of course, you're in a hurry, and so you pull it into gear while it's still turning a little bit, and it grinds a little bit going into reverse, which makes the problem even worse the next time. The gears stand up for a long time, but over a period of time, that reverse gear and getting into first gear, that's also a problem with first gear on a three synchro gearbox. That's a real problem. And the only way is to either sharpen the teeth, which means taking the gearbox apart and being very cautious with a cutoff wheel and putting a knife edge back on the blunted teeth, or better, of course, buying a new reverse gear. Sometimes the lay gear wears and the lay shaft wears. So the lay gear is supposed to run, absolutely straight, but over a period of time, it wears on the rear side at first gear, and so the gear starts to tip like that, which stresses all the speed gear engagement teeth, the counter gear teeth, and it also because it's torn up the um, bearings at the end of the gearbox will make a horrible noise in first, second, and third, not in fourth, because the delay gear, even though it's spinning, isn't carrying any energy in fourth gear straight through. So if you get a noise in first, second, and third, and usually you can't tell in first because it's noisy anyway, but second and third, you get a noise, and then in fourth gear, the noise goes away. It very well is that the lay shaft is worn out, a 1H3305, I think. And those shafts have been sold that are too soft. It's frustrating. You put a brand new one in, and it fails quickly. Some of the lay shafts were sold and they were too long, and you didn't even notice it until you put the whole gearbox back in the car, filled it up with oil, and it started leaking oil out of the front cover because the front cover, the two mating surfaces couldn't come. One of them was bowed out because the lay shaft was 1/64th of an inch too long, some tiny, tiny little tiny bit pushing the front cover and causing it not to seal completely. So whenever I fit a new lay shaft, I always just go to the middle of the shaft where the bearings aren't going to run on it and hit it with a file. The file should just, whatever file you got, should just skate across it. It shouldn't dig into the metal. The metal should be harder than a file will touch. So just that's a comment. We've got another problem with the gearboxes, the three synchro and the four synchro gearboxes, popping out a third gear. My MGA does it. It's so frustrating. So the next time I have it apart, I've got to scoop out a little bit more out of the selector shaft, just a little bit more, so the ball sits in there a little more snugly. Um, it obviously has to do with the alignment of the main shaft and the third force sliding hub, but that's pretty dicey stuff to get in there and correct. But very often the main shaft is sitting too far to the rear by how much? By 64th of an inch, 32nd of an inch, something, some tiny amount. And as a result, when the hub, the sliding hub, this is my tool, but when my sliding hub goes over the engagement teeth here, and this won't fit because these are out of two different gearboxes. But this should slip quite a ways onto the engagement teeth, but sometimes it doesn't go quite far enough. This motion is relatively fixed, but the position of this gear can move fore and aft. Of course, if you're moving the third gear forward, you're also pulling the second gear out of where it might lie correctly. So it's easier just to cut away at the selector shaft and let the detent ball sit a little more deeply. The problem with the all synchro gearbox popping out of third gear, same thing, except that very often on the all synchro gearbox, it's the gear lever boot. If you look at the gear lever, when you push it into first, it only goes so far. If you put it into third, I can't get my arm out, and my camera on my computer here is so crappy, you can't get any distance. But the gear it goes farther ahead. The gear lever goes farther ahead in third gear than it does in first, and that'll stress the gear lever boot. So before you take the gearbox out and rebuild it, take the gear lever boot off 68 through 80 and just see if it's still popping out of third gear. If it's not, figure out how to get a better gear lever boot around there. Um, we talked about a walking first gear in the T types, and there just is there's no solution to that, only to hold it in gear. And you should do that anyway. You're only in first gear for about 2 seconds. That gear is so low. There is a particular fault with the MG T types of jamming in two gears at once. Ooh, that's really bad. There's a lockout device excuse me, I don't mean really jamming in two gears at once. I mean the remote control jamming between the levers, so that you haven't got either gear, or you're always in fourth and you're trying to shift between one and two, and very often the only solution to that is to remove the remote control, push it back all back into neutral, and put it all back together again, and it works just great until it jams up again. There's a particular fault with a T-type that rattles. It rattles on acceleration. It's like, what is that rattle? And people have proposed that there's something wrong with the gearbox, or maybe there's something wrong with the timing on the engine, and you're getting some spark knock. And that translates all the way back to the gear lever, which sits on a real long remote control. So I tend more to think that there's a problem with the T-type gearboxes and the rattly that you get on only on acceleration, that it may be um, at least in part caused by having the timing on the engine too bad. There's a problem with modern 68 through 80 MGBs. When you're sitting there, your foot's off the clutch, you're in neutral, engine's idling, you get this tremendous swish. Shh, shh. Well, it isn't up and down, it's just a shh. And it's all the gears turning, throwing the oil all over the place. But if you happen to have purchased a beautiful, good-looking wooden gear shift knob in place of the original gear shift knob, this is often the problem. At least it exacerbates the problem. So if you must have a wooden gear shift knob and it's got a real thread on the inside, this has got a real thread on the inside. It isn't isolated in rubber or plastic. Then shoot some silicone down inside here and then screw it on. Be aware if you put too much in and you screw it on, you'll separate this bottom part of the gear lever, because the pressure will push it out. But you just put some in there to dampen that noise, or go back to the original gear shift lever, or gear shift knob. Sometimes you get a speedo malfunction. Most often that's the speedo cable, the speedo, the 90-degree drive on the side of the gearbox. But if on the later style gearboxes, and I'm looking at maybe 1972 through 1980, around there, there's no longer a keyway, maybe even earlier than that, there's no longer a keyway that holds the driving gear on the main shaft. And if the rear nut comes loose, then then the speedo gear, the driving gear on the main shaft, will freewheel, and that will cause your speedo to read low, read erratically, not read at all. So sometimes just tightening up the rear nut. There's a particular problem with a T-type gearbox too, where the rear nut comes loose because whoever put in the rear seal got it trapped underneath the rear flange when they tightened it up, and it seemed as though it was tight, but over a period of time, the felt rear seal fails, and so the whole main shaft begins to move fore and aft in the gearbox. So tightening the rear nut on the gearbox on a T-type, when you get shifting problems, because you always do the cheapest, easiest, simplest stuff first. And tightening the rear nut on the gearbox is not simple at all, but it's a lot simpler than taking the gearbox out of the car, you know. So um, then then we have the overdrives. Okay, 63 through 62 through 1980, and there are a lot of problems with the overdrive units, but almost all of them are hydraulic. So you can take as much of the gearbox apart as you can from underneath the overdrive, 68 through 80, replace all the O-rings, clean everything out, clean it clean, clean, clean. That's the secret on the overdrive, because it's a hydraulic unit. and very often you can restore its function. But if the cone clutch, this is the cone clutch, if the cone clutch is too thin, if the fabric gets too thin, it's just like the clutch between the engine and the gearbox, it'll start to slip. And you have problems in direct, usually in direct drive. So I've got some other pieces here that I just want to show to you. Um, Here we got a third speed gear and the associated synchronizer ring. So you can see that that synchro ring sits above the surface of the engagement teeth. That's a pretty good distance. I don't know what that distance is, 1/16 of an inch, something like that. Um, somewhere around there. And that looks pretty good. But if you spin this, it should lock. It should absolutely lock against the gear, and I cannot push it hard enough. I'm not pushing it as hard as it would be pushed in the gearbox, but I can't push it hard enough to lock it up. And if you can't see, but if you look on the inside of here, the all the little grooves in there, some of them are worn, and it doesn't connect with this conical surface, and it doesn't do the synchro action. The other problem is that what I refer to as the house. This is the house. See, there's the house, and here's the roof. There's no chimney. There's just a house that wears, and this one is worn ever so slightly. You can see, I got such a crappy camera here. This is horrible. So, I've got all these YouTube videos up about gearboxes, and I show all this stuff, but you can see there's just a little bit of wear on the roof of that house, and that gets worse and worse and worse until it's like this, until it comes up to a point and it's really worn, and the synchro won't work at that point. Let's see, what else have we got? We got the reverse gear. I showed you the blunted teeth. That goes bad. You've got the laygear here, and that's got needle bearings on the inside, and you can't even see them. Because of my light's so crappy, the camera's so crappy, and those fail. The first gear teeth fail. Usually nothing else. The engagement, the fourth gear, and third and second, those don't fail as a rule. Usually the bearings that are inside the gearbox, usually those are okay. This is out of an all synchro gearbox. This thing is just mighty, mighty good. It's huge. They hardly ever go bad, but they do. Those bearings do go bad. I was working on a guy's car in Savannah, Georgia, and we're doing a clutch. So the first thing is I ordered the 8-inch clutch because that's the kind of car he had, but somebody had retrofitted a 7 1/4, the earlier inch clutch, so we had to wait for all this stuff to come from Moss. While that was going on, I said we might as well take the front. I already ordered the front seal for the gearbox, took the front bell housing off the T-type gearbox to change the seal because you're in there, you might as well change the seal. And of course, the cage, which holds all the balls in the front bearing, cage was gone, just little bits of brass left. And so then we had to totally rebuild the gearbox so that we could change that first motion shaft bearing. When you're looking in the back of your workshop manual, and it shows you special tool 18G 2111 for assembling up the sliding hubs, I take old sliding hubs and grind them. If you look back in section Q in your workshop manual and look at the Churchill tool and look at it carefully, you can see what's happened, and they've just ground down some areas here that take the balls. I don't have, yeah, I do. I have it here in a minute. So I gotta stand up. This is heavy. This is the second gear and first gear from MGA gearbox. You know it's MGA because there's no flange on the back. It's a slip-in drive shaft. Here's the speedo. Here's the speedo gear. Here's the oil pump. Doesn't look like an oil pump, but that's exactly what it is. Oil gets dripped onto it, and and it's a spiral. I can't turn it, but as it turns, it screws the oil forward. It screws it into the hole that you can see right there. Right there, it screws into the hole, and then that goes into the inside of the main shaft and lubricates the speed gears. So this one's got a synchronizer, which is locked. Okay, I could pop that synchro off and get it loose, but this is that's how tight a synchro should be when it's jammed up. The problem is with getting new synchros. They often, not always, they often don't conform to the taper on the gear. So you've got to get the taper here, the conical surface. You've got to get that matched to the conical surface inside here. I don't know why when they were factory gears, you just put them in. Now you have to lap the gears you have to lap the synchros onto the speed gears when you're building the gearbox. It's essential that you lap the synchros in. And how do you do that? Well, I've done it here by taking a shaft, taking the 1-2, the inside of the 1-2 sliding hub here, putting the synchro here. This is a steel synchro, and then spinning the shaft and holding the gear by hand with lapping compound, fine lapping compound on the surface. So you need a couple extra gearbox pieces to do all that. It's not so easily done uh, without an extra gearbox, without some extra parts to use. You just have to be careful, but you have to lap those gears in. Or what did I say about dirty fingers? Um, you have to lap the gears in because if you don't, you put it all together, put it all in, go out for a drive, and the second and third synchros don't work or something. Fourth gear synchro doesn't have to work. You always slide in there, and you're never changing down from a higher gear into fourth. You're only going up into fourth, so it doesn't matter how bad that is. The particular fault with the synchro on the all synchro gearboxes, 68 through 80, isn't that this house fails on the side. It isn't that that goes bad, which is almost always the case here. The problem is that the synchro ring actually cracks. It bursts right next to one of these houses, right next to one of these lugs. And you can only find it by putting it in your hand and pulling it, and it's a crack. You just instantly you can see it. And the problem is then that when you go to push the synchro onto the gear when it's working, now here this is standing proud. I showed that before, but you keep pushing, and instead of this grabbing the gear, the synchro ring just spreads out and doesn't grab it. So so you buy a brand new synchro, right? Ah, 1 out of 100 of those fails. So if you've got good working synchros in your all synchro gearbox, leave them. You know they work. You know they work, and 1 out of 100 of the new ones snaps. Ah, you can't even account for that. But you have to take the whole thing back apart to repair it. Even those synchros you should lap into place. So, care and feeding of your gearbox, keep it full of oil. Change the oil once every, I don't know, 12,000 miles, once every 5 years, something like that. Don't let water get inside it. And just be direct and straightforward in your shifting. And on the crash first gearboxes, you must be completely stopped. Completely. That means the car's stopped and the gearbox is stopped. That means you've had your clutch pressed in and for a second, and the whole system has come to rest. Otherwise, you get the gears knocking against each other, and you're chipping off a little bit of metal, and no longer do you have those knife points. You get blunted, and they don't work so well. So anyway, that's sort of my comments about the gearbox. There are John Esposito, Quantum Mechanics, does a lot, probably more than anybody else. I'm sure more than anybody else in the country. Rebuilds gearbox, Healy's, and all kinds of British gearboxes. Don't know if he does Wilson pre-selectors, but all sorts of British gearboxes. Other people around will do it. You can take it to a transmission shop. You know, they'll rebuild your transmission, but will you get back a quality unit at a reasonable price? Better to find somebody who's going to do it. But lapping the synchro rings is a real critical step on doing that. So anyway, now I'm open for questions about gearboxes. Oh, Judd's got his hand up. Judd, what's up?
Uh,
You
trying to
got
get.
snow. You got snow. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We got snow. Welcome to the South. I don't know if you can see my comment over there. It'll be 14 when I get up tomorrow morning.
Oh my, I
Fair.
mean, I live in
Now
Michigan.
that's not.
I signed up for this. You know,
Hey,
minus
look.
15 is cold, but it's really cold. But I signed up for
When
it.
I
Like
was
you
yeah,
guys didn't.
I was in Greenland, we would call down to Minot because it was colder there than it was in Greenland. Yeah, it's real cold. No, what I was thinking, and I don't know how this goes with what you do. A lot of times, particularly in the T type and also in the A, when both are unsynchroned first, of course. Uh, I'm at a traffic light, so I've got it in neutral. I put the clutch in and I slightly tug it towards second,
Yes,
and it slides right in. And I
yes.
don't know if that is energizing the synchro to turn things,
It's
or
where
if it's my imagination or what.
it's wearing the second gear synchro, but not much.
Uh-huh. Well, it,
So,
it does work, and it avoids the grinding if you do. Now, I do a lot of double clutch into first, and I'm reasonably good at it. Usually can make it drop in without any noise. But it's surprising, like you said, that stump puller, you got to rev up to about 3,500 if you're going 5 miles an hour to drop it into first. A lot of fun. Yeah, this is the street between me and there's a guy on here, Peter DeYoung. That's the road between us. You guys have got the equipment and you're used to it. It's no big
oh
deal for
yeah, it's no big deal. But you guys, no,
you.
you know, yeah, you don't have any equipment.
It blows us up. Yep. All right.
Yep. Thanks. So let's see, Bob and Gloria, you're up again.
Yeah, a couple points. First of all, winner's circle. It's the name of
Winner's
that
Circle.
widget,
Thank
but
you.
yeah,
That's who provides the Sprigget front cover with a seal. Yes, Winner's Circle. Thank you. Could not come up with that.
yeah. I had to look it up. I
Yep.
had an
Thank
old
you.
car, but
Yep.
the other thing I had a '73 MG many years ago, and my clutch and my hand were not synchronized at one point, so I crunched going into third gear, and then after that, every time I went into third gear, it did the same thing. Not a lot, but it made that crunching. I just figured it was a synchronizer, and I never fixed it. It just it's too expensive. You just
You can
live with
always
it.
you can always drive through that stuff. You can, but if you're out campaigning heavily, you got to, second and third synchros, you got to have them,
Yeah.
so
And the other thing, we talked about the oil earlier.
yes.
Um, it's once my transmission gets heated up pretty good on a summer day, it'll still, when I flip it in overdrive, it still does a little slip. When it's cold, it doesn't. Other than that, it works since you rebuilt it, it works really fine.
It's
I'm happy.
the overdrive is a hydraulic unit. It's designed to bring the pressure in the system up to about 450 pounds. But the cam on the overdrive is the deflection is only about that much, and it's the piston's bobbing up and down, and you can bleed that off pretty quickly. So if I can understand why it doesn't engage instantly when the oil is warm. Yeah, yeah,
But it's not like I'm racing, so it's not.
yeah. And
Yeah,
some people clutch when they go into overdrive. Doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all to
I
use the
clutch.
clutch.
I clutch when I downshift out overdrive.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it can be otherwise it can be really harsh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Where the car jerks. So
when I'm upshifting and downshifting under normal circumstances, I seldom use the clutch. My father taught me that years ago, and a lot of people do it. But that clutch job is one of the worst jobs. And so I remember the last time I had the engine out, I only had about 75,000 on the clutch. It was hardly worn at all. But since you had it out, you might as well do it.
well, you guys get a lot of distance on your car. You put a lot of miles on your
Yeah.
car. So it's not the same as 75,000 miles around town where you're on the clutch all the time. I didn't talk about clutches because we're talking about gearboxes, but your foot's always off the pedal, always. The only time your foot is on the clutch pedal is when you're taking off and changing gears. You leave it neutral and let it freewheel. When you're starting it, stop start traffic, stoplight, stop signs, leave it neutral, let it freewheel.
Yeah, we put on a minimum of, well, our trip's usually about 8,000 miles. We put on maybe 15,000 a year. So we change all our oils
Yeah.
once a year
Yep.
because that's a lot of miles. And it's helped me anyway to keep it going.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I had to say, but
Okay.
so far it's been great.
Wonderful. David Halliday, what's up?
Yeah, hi, John. Interestingly, people talk about snow. I'm in Melbourne at the moment, Melbourne, Australia. We're going for 45 here today.
Yeah, that's what the guy from Adelaide said. It was up to 44 there. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's yeah. I missed the start of the session, unfortunately, because I was out watering the garden before it got too hot. But I've got a magnet with an Alexander overdrive gearbox in it, which is an MGA gearbox, basically with a D-type overdrive welded on the back of it.
Okay.
Period upgrade, but when it's idling in neutral, it's really, really noisy with the clutch out. Put the clutch in and it quietens down. And is that likely the input shaft bearing?
No, it's the gear shift knob. It's the what kind of
No,
what kind of
it's a
knob do you?
real. I've just got the standard knob on there, but it's a real whirring sort of sound.
It's natural. It's just natural. That's what's going. It's natural. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's a lot noisier than other cars I got with that gearbox in it.
so take the gear shift knob off. Just take it off and see if the noise changes
Okay.
because that can really amplify it. So there's some other things you can do. You can uh that's like an MGB gear change on that, or is it's not an MGA remote. So
No,
that
on a magnetic goes straight into the top of the box rather than having a branch
okay.
coming out.
All
Yeah.
right. So there's got to be a way to dampen the noise that comes up that gear lever. So a cheap trick is to take a piece of half-inch heater hose and put some grease on it, slip that over the all the way down to the bottom. Another way
Right.
is to put a little tiny dab of silicone sealant down inside
Right.
the
So,
threads and
yep.
and tighten that up. Anything you can do to make the gear lever tighter. Alan Batchelder's on tonight, and
He is, I saw him there. Yeah.
maybe he's got some comments too, since he's the magnet king. So
I
But
cheated.
oh yeah, so
I have a Rivergate Datsun
oh no,
gearbox
oh
in
my
my
gosh,
magnet.
oh that's an embarrassment. Yeah,
I'm sorry to say that. I know, John, that you've commented about people who put Japanese parts on English cars. So, but I did it so I could preserve the transmission tunnel,
yes,
and it's reversible anyway. But it is a lovely combination, and it's
it's a
why I
wonderful
know there's
gearbox. I mean, I'm
yeah,
just a conflict in technologies. Yeah,
yeah, right.
I had a magnet with an MGB three
Mhm.
synchro with an overdrive, and of course we had to make a tunnel to make it fit. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was nice. That worked. But back to David,
yeah.
I think that's just the natural noise from inside. So just experiment around a little bit before you take it all out and worry about that first motion shaft bearing, which is
Yeah,
probably not.
I will. I'll have a go and let you know how I get on. It does leak quite a bit of oil, that gearbox as well, actually.
Right.
But and talking about overdrives earlier, I've got a BGT V8, which is actually my background picture there. But
Yes.
for a while, I had a problem, and it was when you put the power on, it was dropping out of overdrive and coming back in again. And then so I pulled all the various plungers and things out, replaced all the O-rings, or cleaned them all up, replaced all the O-rings, and it was absolutely perfect. And then a couple of years later, it just started going in and out of its own accord. So I ended up having the overdrive rebuilt, and the clutch ring had actually needed replacing on the inside the overdrive, whatever you call that, the sun
Yep.
wheel, or I don't know
Yep.
what it's.
It's yeah,
Yeah,
the the sliding member fits into
yeah, that one.
it fits into the annulus,
Right, okay.
so yeah, yeah.
But and that with that rebuilt and with a new sort of lining on there, it's fine now. But I did hear that some of the overdrives, when they were new, it was bonded on, and eventually some of the bonding would wear as well, or come.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. Usually coming in and going out has more to do with the oil pump. And that oil pump again only moves the cam on that only allows it to move about that far.
yeah,
And sometimes just reseating one of the balls in the assembly and making sure I've seen all kinds of failures within overdrives, but it's usually a lack of pressure that causes it to fade in and out. And there's also an O-ring that fails that allows it to come in and out um, when it's um, when it's in direct drive. So
yeah.
anyway,
This when the clutch lining was bad, it was more like it's slipping rather than going in and out. So
okay,
you put your and on English motorways, you can do quite a speed. You put your foot down, and it it wouldn't pick up as straight away. It'd slip and then sort of
slipping.
gradually get
Yep,
up.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, that's all for me at the moment. Thank you, John.
thank you, Steve Ellis.
Yes, I got a question about every now and again when I shift into third gear, I'll get a little bit of a grind. Could that be the synchronizer starting to
That
go bad?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. That's it, and it's oh my gosh, that's you take the engine and gearbox out and it change the clutch because you always do that when that's out and you rebuild the gearbox. So it's a $2,000 problem or so. Do you get or 3,000 maybe? Do you get that changing from fourth to third more than second to third?
The only time I ever noticed it is shifting from second to third. I didn't notice it on
Because it's
downshifting. No.
usually a lot worse. If it's a synchronizer, it's usually a lot worse.
Well, I don't
Um,
really downshift a whole lot. I'll just bump it up in neutral and
oh,
coast
okay.
in and
All
stop.
right. Okay.
But taking off, first to second is no problem. Second to third, and it doesn't do it a lot. Every now and again, and I really don't know when it's going to do it. It'll just do it, and it goes right in, but it makes a little grind, and it's fine going third to fourth. There's no problem there. But like I say, it's just that every now and again that it does it. It's
Yeah.
not doing it enough for me to want to pull it all apart, though. I can tell
No,
you that.
no, no. You
The
can.
other the other thing I want to ask, how do you tell the difference between -5 and +5? I
Well,
think it's
that's only
fine
10
no
degrees.
matter how you look. It's -3 here in where I'm at right now. And um, it's freaking cold. I mean, I can't tell the difference between minus and plus.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
just wanted to mention that. Thank you, John.
today when I was walking around outside, it was, as compared to 3 days ago when it was minus 15, it was 15 today, 30 degrees warmer. It's like I was in the bleeding tropics. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Now we got Steve Shupak. Steve, what's up?
Hey John, real quick question. You're talking about the knife edges on gears.
Yes.
And when I'm trying to go into reverse, I don't know if this is normal, but sometimes when you kick the shifter over, it won't go into reverse,
hmm
but you have to kick it forward just a little bit, then it goes in just fine. Is
hmm
that's normal?
No, no, that's
No.
that's that's the blunted gears. If this is a knife edge and this is
Yeah.
a knife edge, no matter how you positioned it, I suppose you could be perfect, but you can't be. It would slip. It would slip one way or the other. But once they blunt up, so that's the easy solution is you just put it in another gear, you let the clutch out, you let the car move a little bit. So just you get a little different alignment on the teeth,
Yeah.
and then they go right together.
And that's nothing to do with any lockout, mechanical
No,
lockout.
no.
Bummer. That's a brand new gearbox. Hmm.
There's no such thing. What it was a new
Well,
gearbox made.
newly brand new rebuilt.
Well, that's
New,
weird.
new rebuild. Yeah.
Call me. Call me. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Look it
Thanks.
up. All right. All right. So who's up here next after Steve is David Halliday, but we've already talked to David. So that's probably so we got Craig Shores.
All right. Hi. Yeah, I had a question. You mentioned something about in your maintenance that avoid getting water into the gearbox, I think.
Yeah.
And I had a question. I went one time, I ended up in a thunderstorm, and after that, the the gearbox was shifting really badly and stuff, and I changed the oil like at least a couple times, and it finally started to get okay. I don't understand how can you get water into the gearbox? It's a sealed unit. I
No,
just
well,
don't understand.
almost. There is a vent on the top. There is a
Oh,
vent, but man, for water to get in there, but I don't know, you put anything underwater and it fills up with water. Water gets everywhere. It's hard to believe. It'd be more likely there's something wrong with the clutch
I,
than the gearbox. But
okay,
but
but it's not common to get water into the gearbox
no,
somehow.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. And
Okay.
and when you drain it, it's either oil colored or it looks like honey. Honey is a homogenized water and oil, or there's water sitting on. You take the drain plug out and water comes out first. And then followed by the oil. So
I think it did. Trying to remember. I think it did actually have the milky look to it. Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure. All I know is that I drove through this heavy downpour and stuff. I might have gone through a couple puddles or something. And after that, it definitely seemed like something was messed up. And I'm not 100% sure whether it's the clutch or the gearbox, but
my late wife
anyways.
and I drove to Grapevine, Texas in 2002 at the MGB meet. And we drove through just an incredible thunderstorm somewhere around Little Rock, Arkansas, someplace. And I mean, it was just sheets. Almost everybody's off the road for whatever reason. I just slowed down and kept driving. It was just fine. I could see, but there was just a lot of water. A year later, I'm driving home and I'm thinking, man, what's up with my front wheel bearings? Those things sound noisy. So the next day at the shop, I popped one of the bearings out and they were all rusty. How does water get into the? I mean, it's all getting flung out. But again, it's a thunderstorm. It's just water's getting everywhere. So interesting.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we got Peter Koreski.
Yes, I just wanted to pass the word that I used to have my first MG was a 67 MG that I purchased that the guy just got rid of it in Hawaii. And so this just didn't, this was down to parade rest. He didn't have hardly anything on it. And the gearbox, of course, measurement was on top. And he just had a little, he had actually a cork on there.
Sure.
And so I'm going, okay, how do I measure that? And my son had these huge in the 70s Crayolas, those large ones. And that's how I measured the oil in there. Well, one day that damn thing dropped inside the gearbox, and I was going, okay, I can't get that out. But driving in Hawaii, it's really hot. And I noticed that after that Crayola melted inside that system, those gears went smoothly. And I just left it like that. And that thing, those gears just went, I mean, they would go in and out with no problem whatsoever. So I don't know if the wax coated it up or whatever happened in there. I left it like that and I didn't even do anything. And another thing is that I have a 77 with overdrive, and I that seems like they always leak all the time where the filter is. And so I was cleaning that out. I was taking it apart and cleaning it. And I guess would be caution to everybody that once I took it out, started cleaning, taking the stuff off, I felt something hit my head. And it was the little ball bearing that's in there that drops out. And I was going, I caught it. I was going, okay, where'd it go? And I found out where it went and put a little bit of grease on it and stuck it back up there and it held.
That's up in the solenoid.
Yeah,
Up in the solenoid. That's the 3/16 ball bearing,
yeah.
not the 11/32 or
And
something,
it's
because you can get those two mixed up and then nothing works. Yeah. So okay. Nine
Yeah,
thirty
and so
seconds.
people ought to know that they take that apart, that's going to fall out. And I just put a little bit of grease up there, stuck it up there, and it held, and it
Yep.
worked just fine. And like you said, I just I put it in neutral, coming to the light, stopping. It's easier to put it in neutral than replace the clutch. So
Yes.
very good on that. Just wanted to mention that about the 67. Those were some tough cars at that time.
Hey, the combat. Yep. Real,
Yeah,
real
I went
cars.
cross country all the way I had to ship it to LA and LA to Norfolk, Virginia. I never had any problem until me and a Coronet met and the Coronet won. So it totaled it.
Oh
Okay,
my.
thanks a lot.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you for your help too. So, okay. Next up, we got uh Dari Cheshire, Mr. Cheshire. And we are looking for, looks like it says Derek Cheshire, and it looks like he's trying to unmute himself, but he's having trouble. So press the space bar, Derek, and see if that'll work for you. Otherwise, I'm going to pass you by and go to somebody else. Give me another little moment. Don't want to put any pressure on you here, but there we go.
Oh, oh.
All right, Derek, you're all set. I think if you'll speak. No, I apologize. Something isn't working. So I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go over to Mike. Mike is next with his hand up. No last name. Mike. Is it Tom Eklund then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Hello,
Hey.
hello, John. Hey, I got a TD and I've got an MGA. The first problem with the TD is after I put the engine in, did a ground up restoration, you let the clutch out and instantly it engages.
Okay.
And right now.
Yep. All right. So that it pivots off the sump. I don't expect you've got a cable on it. You got the two
No,
rods, right? That
correct.
pivot off the sump. So
Yes, sir.
when you're sitting still, absolutely, engine is off, everything. Look at the gear lever critically and depress the clutch let up on the clutch, depress the clutch, let up on the clutch. And that gear lever should never move fore and aft. Okay? Should
Okay.
should never move. If it does, then you're not in complete control of what's going on. So that's the first and easiest thing to check. You got that little dangly nut at the bottom, um,
Right.
right?
Right. It's all been replaced. All the rubbers,
Yeah,
all the,
yeah, 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 I know, but just take a look at that and just see,
Okay,
because
I'll do that.
that snappy clutch, that is
Yep.
just it's a terror. Then there's also an adjustment or a change you can make on the swinging arm, and by moving the fixed rod that goes between the bell housing and that swinging rod. Um, Instead of having it detached here, you can have it attached here, and sometimes that'll make a difference. Um,
All right.
that was an improvement created by O'Connor Classics in California a
Got
long
it.
time ago. So you
Yeah.
take a look at the Moss catalog, they sell that, and there may be a picture of it, and you can get a better idea of what's going on. You can also call me. But I think that's probably the most common reason for that snappy clutch is that the engine's moving fore and aft. So you've got an MG,
Ah,
you've got an
beautiful.
MGA also.
Yes, I do. And I inherited it from a gentleman that passed away. And so I had to kind of go through the whole car. And I drove it last year, and everything seemed okay. Miscellaneous little problems. But the one I noticed the most was at idle in neutral, I could hear the bearing, like the throw bearing, making a noise in neutral. I touched the clutch gently, it would go away.
Okay.
Is
So
that
is there any vibration associated with putting your toe on the clutch pedal? Any sense of
none?
vibration at
None.
all?
And it was funny because it was kind of annoying. So I just kind of touched the clutch to make it go away. I go, well, it's either one of those roller throwout bearings because the other throwout bearing, doesn't have any bearings to it, right?
Right. So so you always do the cheapest, simplest, easiest things first, and that's ignore it. In this case, wait until it evidences itself with a further
Right.
failure, but
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff can be frustrating, or you just learn to tap it when it's
Yeah.
making noise.
Right. No, the car drives so well. It's like, oh, okay. Well, that's
Yep.
something new. But thank you so much. You've been
Oh,
so helpful.
hey, you're very welcome. All right.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Alan Batchelder, what's up? You got to unmute yourself, Alan. There we go. No, you're still there. There we go.
Yeah, right. Okay, on a rebuilt overdrive transmission, three sync for my 65B, the slowest restoration project in the history of the Western Hemisphere. And it's been, probably maybe 15 years since I brought it home from the shop where I did the repair myself under the supervision of a very well-known MG enthusiast. And it worked beautifully then. I mean, in terms of just moving it between the gears. I've got it all installed in the car with the engine and everything else. And I just realized that this shifting is stiff. It's real stiff. I can move it, but it is real stiff. Now, when I saw the picture you have on the on
Oh,
your email, I can envision that. Although this transmission has always been in a dry, clean indoor place.
that's what yeah, that's what Craig thought too. We went to put that
Yeah,
into his car, and I said, "Well, I don't know, it wouldn't shift, wouldn't move." I said, "Well, let's take the top
yeah,
cover off." And he'd rebuilt that at the shop years ago,
yeah.
and he was so embarrassed. Anyway, Let's do the cheapest, easiest, simplest stuff first. So you take you take the carpet off, you take
Yeah.
the long cover off, and
Yeah.
expose the remote control. I think it exposes the
Uh-huh.
whole remote control. And I know what, take it off. Maybe the remote control's tight, and it's
Yeah.
not the gearbox. You go in from the top first and use lots of oil and grease. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
wish I had a better answer for you. So, okay,
Well,
okay.
you didn't start off with saying first thing you have to do is take the transmission out of the car. So,
No, it's the last thing you do. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Oh, let's see,
Okay.
Rob.
Thank
Hi,
you.
John.
Yeah, Rob Mance.
How you doing? I got two quick questions for you. One is, do you have a good supplier of the cone clutches?
Overdrive Repair Services in Sheffield, England.
Okay, overdrive repair services. And then the other one is on the MGCs with the standard transmission. Did they all come with overdrives, or was it an option?
No, no, no. I don't know how many came with overdrives. Probably a third of them. Lots of them are just straight for synchro. Just
On the MGCs?
hmm
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. And some came, of course, as automatics. So,
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
yep. Okay. Okay, Mr. McFarland.
Okay, two questions. One, I put an overdrive transmission in my vehicle, and on the last Zoom meeting, there was discussion about having a overdrive solenoid, two solenoids. And do you have any information on that, or should I be concerned? I don't think I have those solenoids.
Well,
to
maybe
be-
we're talking about relays or switches. So,
Um,
so there's only one solenoid, and that's
okay,
within the unit. That's got the 3/16 ball on top that our former guy said it dropped out on his head. Um, so if your overdrive works, that's all in place. But there are two switch. There were two switches on some of the gearboxes, so that you could only engage the gearbox in fourth gear. So I don't
okay,
I don't remember what we were talking about, but in the first gearboxes had a lockout switch, so you could only engage it in third or fourth.
yep,
And then later, because in 77, you could only engage it in fourth gear because rather than use two different sets of switches, because they ran the vacuum advance onto the engine only in fourth gear. But it's all emission stuff. So that they later they had a switch and it would only go continuous in fourth gear. But for a very short time in 77, there were two switches, one that went continuous in reverse, second and fourth, and one that went continuous in third and fourth. And you put them in series, and so that would only pass the current in fourth gear. So
okay. No,
so
I bypass that and just have a switch on my gear shift knob, and it'll go into overdrive in any gear. I don't know if that's a problem.
well, only when you start to back up, and
Okay.
and if the overdrive starts to engage, it'll lock up. It can do some damage.
Oh, okay.
And you should never use it in first and second. Just
I the only time I put it if it's in overdrive, it's on accident.
okay,
I don't drive like that normally. So,
okay.
and the other question I put in the comments, to get the tranny out of a 78 MGB, I tried to pull the tranny out without taking the motor out.
hmm
Is that possible?
Straight, not overdrive, just a straight gearbox, it's possible. Although you've got to do it maybe 4 or 5 times so you learn how to do it um, bef until it becomes faster than taking the engine gearbox out. We were just talking about that at our birthday party. We had a bunch of veterans from back in the day, and Mark Kenworthy, who worked for me, said, I took them out the bottom all the time. And I said, well, yeah, you took them out of the bottom all the time, but for the guy doing it the first time, no,
I could
no.
never
If
get
you
them out.
if you're going to make money doing it, yes,
Uh,
because you can beat the flat rate, but it's a horrible job.
okay. I didn't know. Every time I pull mine out, the motor comes out with it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yep.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Steve Carroll. Oh, you're muted. You got to hit your space bar there, Steve, or something to get yourself unmuted. Steve Carroll, you're trying. I saw a picture of you there for a minute, and then so we got a problem there.
Hey, John.
Yes, Mike.
Yes, yes. How you doing?
Okay.
Good. It's Mike Westland calling from Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a question, an overdrive question.
Yes.
67 MGB with 3-sync overdrive that's been rebuilt.
Okay.
Since I've installed that in my car, going into overdrive usually drops in kind of in a severe manner, but it doesn't always go into overdrive. I could drive down the road with the switch on, no overdrive. Maybe a mile down the road, it'll drop into overdrive.
Okay. That's probably probably a problem with the oil pump inside the overdrive. I know you don't want to hear that.
No.
There is an electrical circuit on with the cars that are fitted with it, with a relay and a vacuum switch and some stuff
Yeah.
up front. You can always hot wire through that just to see if it changes it at all, because you always do the cheapest, simplest, easiest stuff first. So it's probably a
Okay.
yellow with red wire that leaves the relay. I can't remember. Yellow with red probably leaves the relay and goes down to the overdrive. So
Okay.
if you energize that directly, just with your overdrive switch, take a look at the diagram. You can see how you can get plumb wire through that relay. Just see if
Right.
that does it. But otherwise, it has to do with creating enough oil pressure in the overdrive. And so again, cheapest, easiest, simplest stuff. You drain the oil out and you put new oil in. I mean, what else you going to do before you take the engine and gearbox back out and take it to whoever rebuilt the overdrive, or do it yourself again. So you know what a project that is. So struggle with
Yeah.
the electrics and the oil first.
Okay. So I did rebuild the overdrive myself,
Okay. All right.
and I bench tested it. I had 400 pounds of pressure,
Okay.
and it worked fine on the bench.
Okay. All right.
So
Well, yeah.
I'll look into that. Look into that electrical issue there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, John.
Hey, good luck.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
We were waiting for Steve Carroll to come up. I wonder if Steve got anywhere yet with his thing. Otherwise, we can try Derek Cheshire again.
Yes.
Hey, there we go.
All right. Success. Good evening. I have my wife's 73 GT engine out for a refresh. And so, of course, the gearbox is on the bench. And I'm inclined to not put it back in and then have a problem. It's been about 15 years. She doesn't remember it ever shifting weird. So I was just going to do a reseal, but I pulled the front cover off, and that shim is tacoed, almost like the bearings spun, but the clip hasn't gouged the case like the bearings spun. You got you're nodding.
That's real common. Real
Okay.
common. So unless you've got a plunge micrometer, which most people don't, and you can measure it and calculate how many shims you could get just by 3 shims. Another trick that I do, it sounds so crude, but follow me through. On the inside of the front cover, in that area that abuts the front, that abuts the shims, and then the shims abut the front of the bearing, take a prick punch and put 100 little pricks with a hammer, because every time you put a prick mark there, it brings some aluminum up.
So we're peening it with the bearing in place then, and then shim it and ship it.
Yep.
So if the oil came out clean, no reports of issues, reseal it and put it back in the car.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, and I do have a depth gauge, so I should be able to actually get proper shimming.
Okay. All right.
Well.
Okay. Well,
Um,
there's an article, there's a section in the section F in the workshop manual
okay,
that explains exactly how to do that. You have to account for the thickness of the gasket and so forth.
right,
So,
right,
okay,
right.
great.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that it solves that. I really don't want to open a can of worms. So I've been told they're bulletproof, so leave them alone.
They are so, when I moved from one location to another, I had 40
Yeah, I've heard this.
gearboxes. And we eventually took them apart and took them apart so we could sell the aluminum and the steel in separate containers.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
just it seems so horrible, but yeah, they're just anchors.
Okay.
Hardly anything goes wrong with them except that burst synchro. You
The
know
third
that
gear synchro. Okay.
well, first, second, third, or fourth, but first doesn't make a lot of difference. You don't shift into it. Fourth doesn't make any difference because you're only shifting into it.
Right.
And second and third, you can't you can't drive the car if they're broken. But if she doesn't remember there was a problem, there probably isn't. So
Okay. Fair
okay,
enough. Thank you, sir.
hey, you're very welcome.
Good evening.
All right, okay, HDR. Who's HDR?
Hi, that's me.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. So I had to replace my overdrive recently. Had some issue going up to Chicago this year, and I got it back in the fall and drove it for about 60 miles, and then it just dropped out. It stopped working, even though the switch was on. And so I did all the things I could, looking at the wiring from above the car, and I finally got under the car. And oh, by the way, both the reverse lights and the when I got around to looking at it, both the reverse lights and the overdrive weren't working. When I got under the car, it's like they're both disconnected from the switches. So last week I got under the car, and with a long pair of needle nose pliers, I was able to get the reverse switch is easy. I could just reach it through the tunnel.
The reverse switch is easy.
The overdrive switch with a very long pair of needle nose pliers, I was able to get the spade connectors back on the switch, and then I drove this weekend, and at some point I was driving and I tried to put it overdrive, and it did not go in again. So now I'm thinking it came out. I feel like maybe the spades came disconnected again.
Well, if they came disconnected once, they could easily come disconnected again. If you want to hot wire it, just take the spade or the bullet connector that goes into the solenoid, poke a wire down through the gear lever boot. You got a wire, then you got to energize that wire from some
Yeah.
other place. But you're driving along, and of course that solenoid, when you open it up, you can get a poke. So don't be, then it ain't gonna kill you. But anyway, you can put them together. If it sparks, you know that the electrical circuit's right. See if it works. If it does, you got to change that switch. And that switch on the gearbox is the least accessible electrical component in the vehicle. It is a horror to change. Just awful, awful.
If only I'd had. Well, my solution was to order a new harness, and hopefully the little lock clips on the spade will keep it from vibrating loose. But now, once again, I have to get up under there to find it. By the way, the people at Quantum Mechanics were the ones that furnished me with a rebuilt overdrive, and they were super helpful, and I would recommend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, I thought maybe Esposito might be on tonight, but I haven't seen him. So yeah. Anyway, thanks very much. Okay, Scott Hins.
Hey, John, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Hey, thanks for doing this. This is fantastic, and this happens at the right time too. As you can see,
I see that behind you. Yep.
Yeah, that's my transmission from my 1960 MGA project that I picked up last year. I just finished redoing the engine, just rebuilt that, and now I'm onto the transmission. And since I've never driven this before, this is I've never seen this thing together. This is also my second time I've worked on an MG transmission, so I'm not really familiar with it. But what would you do if you don't know anything about this transmission? What would you look at as telltale signs that I should take this thing apart? Because I really don't want to take it apart. And before you answer that question, here's a little bit of a little background information. The clutch was so bad that the throwout bearing was worn way past the carbon, all the way down to the metal, and the lever was starting to eat away it was getting eaten away at the clutch. So that I unfortunately I take those as signs as to what's inside. But tell me, what are your thoughts? How far would you take this? Where would you go with this?
I take it all the way apart and make sure the lay shaft is okay, and make sure that the first gear and reverse gear teeth are okay. You can buy this. You can buy the reverse gear relatively inexpensively. The lay gear is a lot more expensive. But if the teeth are chowed, you got to do it. But mostly what you're after is the second gear synchro. That's the first thing that fails. So
Okay.
so
So
I was going to mention earlier, but Marty's got some teaser stuff up there, I think, about I do have some information available, more than some information available on rebuilding gearboxes. And of course, we should have had it all done and had it as a booklet available, not unlike this book for engines, before I came on tonight, but I didn't, and I don't dare take any orders for any books. But if you contact me tomorrow, I can talk to you just a little bit about what to do and how to do it.
all right, sounds good, John. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have a lot of content. I just couldn't get it all together quick enough, but I do have the 3 synchro available. I'll put a link. I'll get it up and send a link for you. But getting like 20 different things up was not going to happen today.
Not today. Not when Not when it's 15 degrees and Marty's mom was stuck out on the highway, and oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, at the grocery store with her groceries. She sat in Trader Joe's for like an hour. They gave her a chair by the bathroom. Yeah, it was very cold today.
I'm in Harbor Springs, so that's why I'm wearing this right now. I get it. It's cold up here, really cold.
Well, yeah. You're 10 degrees below us, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Oh
so
my gosh.
It's good time to stay inside and work on the car, though.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Alan Batchelder, you're back up again.
Just real quickly, Scott. The answer to your problem lies in this guy in Grand Rapids who used to do technical seminars on rebuilding your transmission, and I'm wondering if he's ever going to have one again.
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about
Good,
it. It's
good.
lots of fun. But back, when I had the shop, you look at you look at the third speed gear, and some of the teeth are missing the engagement teeth. I just go to the box where I had 30 other ones, and we get a good one.
Yeah, right.
I don't have a good supply of used stuff, that's one problem. But I keep getting closer to wanting to do something. So, yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I was going to, HGR is just having exactly the same problem I had with my MGC. The wire kept falling off of the transmission limiter switch.
Oh,
and
my.
And I was so relieved when I first discovered that. I think, oh boy, this is great. I don't have to replace that switch. I just have to get the wire back on it. Ha! That was a bear. And I took the longest long nose pliers I had, and I still couldn't reach it. I ended up making a tool for it. But nevertheless, I did find that it was easier to do if I spliced in about 4 or 5 inches of the wire, and then I put the short one that I just made, put that in the switch, and it was a little easier to manipulate. I could get that, and then I can plug the one that goes to the solenoid. I could plug that into the other wire. So it made it a little easier, and I'm not absolutely sure why, but it seemed to, and I just thought I'd throw that in if that helps him.
Thanks.
So that's it.
Thanks.
Okay, sure.
All right. Mike, are you up?
Yes. So just thought I would mention this. You talked about the lay gears and how they should have a nice sharp edge to those teeth.
Yes.
And this is with our friend there who has the MGA and is thinking about having to redo that box. The reproduction lay gears are not sharp; they're blunt. So I would suggest to have a look around and see if you can find a new old stock lay gear. I was fortunate enough to find one because I'm in the middle of a 3-sync overdrive rebuild right now
Thank
for
you.
another car. And yeah, just look around. Moss Europe, I think, had some new old stock.
Okay.
But really, the reproduction ones, if you're thinking of replacing your lay gear with a new one because your gears have been blunted off, the new one's not going to help you. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Thanks. I hadn't heard that. So someone makes these things in batches, right? So I don't know whether they make 20 of them at a time or 2,000 at a time, but sometimes they're made wrong and then they get through that run and then another run comes up. So you're never sure. So, but anyway, thank you very much for the comment, for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
No problem.
And Derek Cheshire, you're back up.
Yeah, quick follow up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so that bearing is actually spinning in the case. Is that correct?
It must be that. It must be.
Okay.
What else could cause that?
Right.
You know?
I thought that, but then, like I mentioned, the clip that holds the bearing in, the retaining clip, I would expect that to be spinning too and gouging the case, but it's not.
I don't,
So that's confusing.
It's almost every gearbox I ever took apart.
Okay.
It looks like that thing's all folded up down at the
exactly.
bottom in the oil passageway.
Okay. So pull the clip so I can peen all the way around.
No.
Just in the gap then?
I'm dealing with a cover. I'm dealing
just
with just the cover.
Okay, so the
Just the
pressure.
cover. So you open up your vise. So
Right.
you're not going to bend the cover when you use a prick punch.
Right.
And that face that's that wide all the way around. That this face
Okay.
all the way around in the cover. You put 100 or 200 tunk with a real sharp. It sounds so crude, but hey,
Oh, yeah.
it brings that metal up and makes it yet thicker. But if you get enough shims in there, that'll do it too. I don't think you can get enough shims. Well, of course you could, but if you bought 3 or 4 shims, I don't think that's so much that it's going to cause the cover to bow away and leak because
Okay.
that's the other side.
But
So,
you also, being a ball bearing, you don't really want to load it up either.
well,
You just
you're only loading the case. You're only squeezing the ball.
onto the retainer, the retaining clip. Right.
Right.
Got it.
You're only dealing with the outer race.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Terrific.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you. All right, Ron, VIP.
Yes, hello there.
Hey.
It's a semi-NJ question. I lost all my stuff in a fire, but my brother-in-law is dealing with the 55 Metropolitan, which I know has a motor. And I just looking, do you have a source of somebody he could turn to other than the internet? People with spout stuff.
Oh, there's some people in Arizona or New Mexico that Metro somebody. I don't deal with those a lot, but the gearbox. The gearbox is funny because it's it looks the lay gear looks kind of like this, but it's only 3-speed, not 4-speed.
Right, and it's got linkage coming down off the gear shift by the dashboard and all that. But he's leaking problem. We had a person pull the front cover off and mill it out and put a seal in, but it's just he's getting all his information off Facebook people, and I would like to direct him somebody that knows a lot more.
I can't remember. There's a place in New Mexico or Arizona that sells lots and lots and lots of Nash Metro parts or Hudson Metro, whichever one you got. So yeah,
Okay.
But there's a firm that there was about 3 years ago because so much of the body was made here and then it was shipped to England where it was outfitted with midget and MGA running gear kind of, and
They've
then
got Austin, I think it's 1500
yeah. Yeah, it's
motor.
the same engine as
Yeah.
sometimes you see people that have put dual carburetors on it and put a bigger cylinder head on it, bigger valve, so it'll go more than 45 miles an hour. So,
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate the help
yep,
there.
absolutely. Okay. All right. All right. I think we are done with that, and it is 9 o'clock, and I still haven't even got over to the chat section, but I want to go over to the chat section right now and see if I can answer. Let's see. So Judd says from sunny South Carolina, the morning temperature was 14, but the high today was 40. Well, that's not cold. Um, anyway, okay. And John Phillips, hi all from Adelaide, South Australia. Love hearing how cool it is because it was 35 there, and which is like what 110 here or something. Right? It's just phenomenally hot. Marty's reminded us all that donations are very much appreciated. That's for sure. Jim Riley got some cold and snow, and he goes on here for quite a while. 2 hours to clear his driveway. Oh my gosh. Okay. And I was out day before yesterday for an hour and a half with my snow blower. I live on 3 lanes. Out in front of me is a state highway. It's 4 lanes, but right in front of me there's 2 lanes, and then there's a turn lane. So when the plows go by, they plow 3 lanes of snow into the bottom of my driveway. So yeah, I know what snow blowing is. So who's owned? Oh, here we go. Paul says, who's owned their MG the longest? I've had my 77 since 84. So I should ask that the next time around. So I've had my 62 MGA since 76. So I got you beat right there. And I know there are people that have got me. Let's see, Paul, first, lay shaft for MGA Rockwell hardness untreated was less than 20, and after hardening about 40. My machinist friend couldn't get any harder. Is that good enough to use? I don't know. I don't know enough about metals and Rockwell hardness, but I should find out. That's a real good question. Second, does a TD have a heat shield between the exhaust manifold and the carbs? Not originally, because there wasn't a problem with boiling gasoline in a TD. Now there is. Brown and Gammons, at least Brown and Gammons out of England, sells a heat shield, nice looking heat shield. You make one yourself, but it's a real nice looking one out of England. So here Barney Gaylord, MGA Guru, is telling us that 60 to 62 Rockwell hardness is appropriate. 50 or less, he doesn't mince his words here, is junk. So, and then anyone, hi everyone, as soon as I decide if I'm gonna keep my beauty blueberry, I will make a purchase buying the engine book. Okay, well, thank you. You can always make a donation before you buy the book. I've had my MG 80 MGB since 1980. So original owners, that sounds like an original owner to me. So that's cool. Quantum Mechanics, we've got them listed here. Absolutely. I bought a 3-synchro overdrive gearbox that I've not run. I bought a 3-synchro gearbox that I've not seen run. What inspection should be done before installation? I'm not planning to fully disassemble it. It's a pig in a poke. I would totally disassemble it. Wait for our gearbox book. It'll make it really easy. You don't need a whole lot of special parts. Um, and Mike Baldwin says, got a rear trans seal that involves a bedding part. Out of a bed, a bedding, that kind of bed, that kind of bedding part. That's an interesting story, I bet. So Now, is it possible to replace springs and steel balls in a TF gearbox third fourth synchro hub without pulling the gearbox to bits? Phil Dreden, no, it's not. And you don't have to change those steel balls. That's not what the problem is. Well, it might be. It might be if they're weak and the synchro isn't working, but my suggestion is to pull the whole thing out. Are you thinking of Spridget? In Cincinnati? No, but I was thinking of uh-oh. Bob and Gloria told me Winter Circle. That's what I was thinking of. So here we go. I found a ball bearing in my 68 overdrive. The overdrive was easy. John's calm and encouraging demeanor was wonderful. The rebuild was easy. Now comes the gearbox. AI combined with a workshop and pictures along with the way has not been fruitful. Here is hoping the gearbox video, though the cutaway was nice, would be nice to see. The problem with making a video about rebuilding a gearbox is, that job is a 6-hour gearbox. And where do you start and where do you stop? What do you show? It's like rebuilding an engine. You can buy Dr. Doolin's engine rebuild, but geez, that thing goes on for like 4 or 5, 6 hours. It has to. Bill Weekly says he's owned his, but then he stops and doesn't say it anymore. Here we go. I'm just looking, discussing the advantage of double clutching when downshifting. It takes the wear. It keeps the synchros from wearing. So that's a nice. If you can double clutch, if you've got time to double clutch, sure. Oh, here we go. Bill Weekly. He says, I've owned my 56 MGA since 66. Okay, so that we're getting to be some time here. That's cool. David Sander, in third gear, the rattle on acceleration is the same as engine knocking. I retard the timing slightly until the rattle is gone. So Dave Smittle, who's a T-typer, has come up and agreed with me that it's the timing on a T-type that causes that rattle. And let's see, how thick should the cone clutch be? Oh, I've got the measurement, but not off the top of my head. It's about 1/8 of an inch. Do you know anyone who sells new cone clutches? That's Overdrive Repair Services in Sheffield, England. At what point is lapping your new synchro too much? Won't it hurt the little grooves you mentioned? Yes, of course, if you lap it all day, but you lap it until it grabs. Until it grabs. I should really did I make a video about that? If I didn't, I should. I will. And I've got just a moment here. I want to get participants back up here. Just a minute. What I wanted to do was hit but I buggered this up. Wanted to hit mute all because we got some background noise, but that's gone away. 77 gearbox, does the speedo driven gear from the output flange actually fit through the gearbox opening to come out? Well, yeah, but you can't. Yes, it seems like it was bigger than the hole in the case. That's not true. I gave up initially and hadn't tried. I was afraid if I fumbled too much, it would drop inside. That would be a mess. Without good results, like dropping the crayon into a 3-synchro gearbox. That's a pretty good one. The box is out of the car, but the only reason that gear would be larger than the hole, taking it out of the side of the MGB late model gearbox, is if the teeth have been buggered up. Grab it with a pair of pliers, nice vice grips. Isn't that going to put marks in the shaft? Yep. So, I mean, everything's a trade-off here. So you might have to polish the shaft a little bit before you put it back in. But obviously that gear will come out of there. So, and I still have 52. Quantum mechanics was helpful. How do you determine if you've properly lapped in the synchro ring? Well, I was showing it before. So you're spinning you're spinning this guy and you got the synchro. So this shaft is spinning. All of this is spinning. You're holding onto this by hand, and you push it in by hand, and it rips it out of your hand. And once it's doing that, once it grabs and rips it out of your hand, you know that you're doing okay. Marty said she created a new playlist in YouTube to gather 35 Gearbox videos in one place. Isn't, oh my gosh, I don't even know what that means exactly, but that's a lot of stuff. Three Synchro, the Monopoly house is what wears. Yes, yes, that little house is what wears. It's not the surface usually. Yep. Marty says you can always call me for answers. My tech line is at 1 to 2. That's the best time to call me. My number's on the website. Um, do all MGCs have overdrive? Nope, we answered that one already. Donations are very much appreciated. Marty put that in. David Sander again. TDTF clutch quick engagement can also be caused by the rear mount and the transmission braking. It can be fixed anyway. David's got a note in here, that's the most common reason that you got such a snappy. There's no better way to describe that than you're letting the pedal off, and all of a sudden, there's just it's quantum. It makes a leap, literally. So anyway, David Sanders got a note on here, and that's all from who did Horse Shocks book about how to fix that. Scott Hicks, how do you raise your hand? But now we're beyond that. So down in the bottom where it says react. Oh, here we got a whole lot of people answering that. 75 MGB overdrive is not working for 20 years. I saw your video. Remove the inspection plates and solenoid. 3 cans of carb cleaner. Lots of compressed air. Found the oil pump piston was stuck. There we go. With metal debris, probably for years. Anyway, now he hit a big hot pothole, and it jammed it out of gear, and now the clutch works great. So I guess the secret is potholes. That's a problem with a cone clutch. When you buy a new cone clutch, it can jam in overdrive. It's really frustrating. Usually just put it in reverse, back up just a little bit, it pops right out. Is there a way from very limited photos to tell you version of Gearbox rather than trying to source? Cameron Griffin, call me tomorrow. Let's see in here, there's some answers here for Cameron's question. Anybody live around that might be able to look at my car for me? I lost my mechanic last year. I will pay somebody. I live in Battle Creek, so that's Sean Crispin. So it's very frustrating. I just talked to Mark Brandow today, Quality Coaches, and he says, I've been in business. He's been in business now for 52 years. I just had my 51st birthday, but I don't run a shop anymore. And he said, I've outlived everybody. All the other shops are gone. People have retired. It's getting to be very difficult. HDR, I have 3 old stock laygears for a 4 Synchro MGB, free to an MG owner. So if you want to get in touch with HDR, you can get in touch with me or Marty. Wanted to ask you about a clutch in a 66B. Noticed recently it started to develop a kind of noticeable rattle when depressing the clutch. Bad news. When you get a rattle, when you're depressing the clutch, especially accompanied with vibration that comes up the pedal, it means that it's time to change the clutch. John Clark says 8:55, I have to go. Sean Crispin here says first gear grinds. So, Sean, it's not the gearbox, it's the clutch. That's um so it's a 75 midget 1500. So anyway, that's a faulty clutch, not a faulty gearbox. Here Marty's got it, and I don't have my let me just see if I can get nope, just a minute. I don't know what happened here. Participants, mute all. I'm just going to use my mute all button here for a minute because we had some background noise. So Marty's got some stuff up that'll help. Um, I found the overview on Overdrive article. So that's a nice one. Bill Thornton has to go. Tony Slattery. Oh, he's talking about the leaking fuel cap on Sean Crispin's 1500 midget. Um, the risk of being accused of blasphemy. Oh, who wrote this? Neil. I helped a friend install a 5-speed kit in his 1275 Sprigget. It was a pretty nice conversion. He sourced everything from Rivergate, 5-speed, in Saudi, Tennessee. They have kits for bees as well. There's no question that the modern, especially the modern Japanese gearboxes, are just brilliant compared to the gearboxes that are in our car. But new part here, new part there, pretty soon you got a Miata, you know. Let's see, Terry Luft, our very first MG is a 73 midget we bought in 74, and yes, we still have it. And HDR still says he's got 3 stock old lay gears for 4 synchro gearboxes, but those hardly ever go bad. It's only in the reverse teeth that are bad on those. And here's a car club near Lansing, and I'm all the way through at 9:08. I went through all that stuff really fast, but so many people asked questions by raising their hands this time that it was almost nicer than trying to read all the stuff from off the chat section. So anyway, here we are. And it's 9:03. It's about time. Oh, yes.
This is Fred Horner. How are you?
Hey, great.
One quick comment. I was just down to see John Esposito.
Yeah.
Picked up a overdrive transmission for a friend of mine. And the problems with this overdrive transmission was not the overdrive itself. That was all working fine. But it was grinding in 3rd and 4th gear. So the problem was that apparently, according to John, it's very common for the late model 4 synchro transmissions for the 3rd gear synchro to crack, like you mentioned.
Yes.
But it didn't crack at the house. This one cracked at one of the little cuts in the side of the middle of the ring gear.
Okay.
All right. And then the 4th was just a little bit worn. But it had also taken out the selector teeth.
Really?
So that had to be replaced as well because it was being tried to force into gear when it was grinding, you know.
Okay. And chewed up all that brass. All right.
And the other thing was they replaced that brake, the overdrive brake.
Yes.
Because the later ones are bonded, the earlier ones were riveted, and apparently the glue, when it gets really old, can let go. So they replaced that brake in there.
Sure. Yeah, the one that I've been twirling around here has got
yes,
it's got rivets. One. You can see the rivets in it. Yeah.
The other thing you pointed out was from 77 to 80, they went with a cheaper bushing in the overdrive assembly, where I'm not that familiar with the units, but there's a bushing that goes through the housing, and the late ones is only on one side. The earlier ones went all the way through.
They fit around the main shaft very, very snugly. Yeah. And the later ones, it's just the aluminum housing from the overdrive that goes around the main shaft. That's for the low pressure oiling system. And then the thrust washer against which the sun gear smashes into when you put it into overdrive. that thing fractures, and I've been meaning to send you one, or send one of the ones I've got to John Esposito to show him what I've got.
Yes.
Because they're twice as thick. So
Well, he was showing me one that had spun in the housing. So he was trying to determine how can you repair that housing to get the correct thickness.
Well, with mine, usually you don't have to, because it's got the same uh, same inside and outside diameter as the sun gear. So if it's dug into the housing, it still works. So anyway, I'll get in touch with you. And
the other thing I want to say is that John sells all kinds of pieces to rebuild your transmissions. So rather than going to Moss or somebody else, he will sell you the pieces that you need.
Okay, that's some of the most it's one of the nicest things I've heard tonight. Good, because anything that he's selling you, I mean, yeah, it's not corporate.
Well, he says he sells a lot of parts to Moss.
Sure.
So
sure,
his prices will be cheaper.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's good to know for everybody. Thanks very much, Fred. So Gene Cooper, but you got to get unmuted.
Good day, Mr. Twist. Just wanted to bring up a weird problem a friend here had. The overdrive would not disengage at all.
Okay.
Wires off, and it was engaged. So it was quite the stinker. Randy Bybeth, who you know, really dug into it, and what he found was the bushing for the shaft had turned a little bit. So it's got that groove in it for the oil. Well, when you turn it, the hole doesn't go anywhere anymore. So the first time you engage the overdrive, the little ball gets pushed up, pressurizes the system.
It stays there until you turn it off.
Until it actually leaks down, just because of clearances. So
there's no accounting for weird stuff that happens. Yeah.
But that's why the overdrive was so cheap as a part laying on the floor. So
nice.
Just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Thanks. And we're going to get to Bob and Gloria, and then I'm going to have my hat contest with Doug if he's still on.
Just had a question. Way back when they changed the speed limit to 65, I bought a rebuild overdrive. I had Steve Shivington, got it through him, and it wouldn't go out of, same problem, would not go out of overdrive. And I took it to Dave Mack, who was pretty good. He's no longer with us, but he drained the oil and all that. Looked, he says, it seems like you have to break it in. I thought, what? Well, I was heading my way to Colorado. By the time I got to Colorado, it worked fine for the next few 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
So
well, I
did have to break it in.
Yep. That's this guy, and he sticks. Yeah. He sticks. Yeah.
The other thing is, did you get your calendar?
Yes, thank you. I have a note that I wrote to you, but my mail has been because of and then I got a terse note from my mailman about snow in front of my mailbox. So you'll be getting your note in the mail shortly.
That's right.
So
I enjoy doing it.
Thank you very, very much.